To me, Sam Harris, the great Sam Harris, is somebody I've looked up to for a long time as a beacon, a voice of reason. And there's this meme on the internet, and I would love you to steel man the case for it and against, that Trump broke Sam Harris's brain. That there's something is disproportionately to the actual impact that Trump had on our society. He had an impact on the ability of balanced, calm, rational minds to see the world clearly, to think clearly. You being one of the beacons of that. Is there a degree to which he broke your brain? Otherwise known as Trump derangement syndrome. Medical condition.
I think Trump derangement syndrome is a very clever meme because it just throws the problem back on the person who's criticizing Trump. But in truth, the true Trump derangement syndrome was not to have seen how dangerous and divisive it would be to promote someone like Trump to that position of power, and to not, and in the final moment, not to see how untenable it was to still support someone who, a sitting president who was not committing to a peaceful transfer of power. I mean, that was if that wasn't a bright line for you, you have been deranged by something, because that was, that was 1 minute to midnight for our democracy, as far as I'm concerned. And I think it really was, but for the integrity of a few people, that we didn't suffer some real constitutional crisis and real emergency, after January 6th. I mean, if Mike Pence had caved in and decided to not certify the election, right? Literally, you can count on two hands the number of people who held things together at that moment, and it wasn't for want of trying on Trump's part that we didn't succumb to some real, truly uncharted catastrophe with our democracy. So the fact that didn't happen is not a sign that those of us who were worried that it was so close to happening were exaggerating the problem. I mean, it's like, you almost got run over by a car, but you didn't. And so, the fact that you're adrenalized and you're thinking, but boy, that was dangerous. I probably shouldn't, wander in the middle of the street with my eyes closed. You weren't wrong to feel that you really had a problem, right? And came very close to something truly terrible. So I think that's where we were, and I think we shouldn't do that again, right? So the fact that he's coming back around as potentially a viable candidate, I'm not spending much time thinking about it, frankly, because it's, I'm waiting for the moment where it requires some thought. I mean, it took up, I don't know how many podcasts I devoted to the topic. It wasn't that many in the end, against the number of podcasts I devoted to other topics. But there are people who look at Trump and just find him funny, entertaining, not especially threatening. He's like it's just good fun to see somebody who's just not taking anything seriously, and it's just putting a stick in the wheel of business as usual again and again and again and again. And they don't really see anything much at stake, right? It doesn't really matter if we don't support NATO. It doesn't really matter if he says he trusts Putin more than our intelligence services. I mean, none of this it doesn't matter if he's on the one hand saying that he loves the leader of North Korea, and on the other threatens to bomb them back to the Stone Age, right, on Twitter. It all can be taken in the spirit of kind of reality television. It's like this is the part of the movie that's just fun to watch, right? And I understand that. I can even inhabit that space for a few minutes at a time, but there's the deeper concern that we're in the process of entertaining ourselves to death, right? That we're just not taking things seriously. And it's a problem I've had with several other people we might name who just appear to me to be goofing around at scale, and they lack a kind of moral seriousness. I mean, they're touching big problems where lives hang in the balance, but they're just fucking around. And I think they're really important problems that we have to get our heads straight around. And we need, it's not to say that institutions don't become corrupt. I think they do. And and I'm quite worried that, both about the loss of trust in our institutions and the fact that trust has eroded for good reason, right? That they have become less trustworthy. I think, they've become infected by, political ideologies that are not truth tracking. I mean, I worry about all of that. But I just think we need institutions. We need to rebuild them. We need experts who are real experts. We need to value expertise over, amateurish speculation and conspiracy thinking and just, and bullshit.
The kind of amateur speculation we're doing on this very podcast.
I'm usually alert to the moments where I'm just guessing or where I actually feel like I'm talking from within my wheelhouse. And I try to telegraph that a fair amount with people. So yeah, I mean, but it's not, it's different. Like, I mean, you can invite someone onto your podcast who's an expert about something that you're not an expert about. And then you in the process of getting more informed yourself, your audience is getting more informed. So you're asking smart questions and you might be pushing back at the margins, but you know that when push comes to shove on that topic, you really don't have a basis to have a strong opinion. And if you were going to form a strong opinion that was this counter to the expert you have in front of you, it's going to be by deference to some other expert who you've brought in or who you've heard about or whose work you've read or whatever. But there's a paradox to how we value authority in science that most people don't understand. And I think we should at some point unravel that because it's the basis for a lot of public confusion. And frankly, it's the basis for a lot of criticism I've received on these topics where it's, people think that I'm I'm against free speech or I'm an establishment shill, or it's like I just think I'm a credentialist. I just think people with PhDs from Ivy League universities should run everything. It's not true, but there's a ton of there's a lot to cut through to get to daylight there because people are very confused about how we value authority in the service of rationality generally.